ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. So today is the third and final discussion on the Vaisheshika philosophy, whose founder is Kanada, and which discusses Vishesha as a category. That's why the name Vaisheshika, and which recognizes only two pramanas or methods of knowledge, which are perception, pratyaksha, and inference, anumana, and which recognizes 7 categories instead of the 16 categories in Nyaya. Those 7 we have discussed already: Dravya or substance, Guna or quality, Karma or action, Samanya generality, Vishesha particularity, Samavaya inherence, and last but not the least, which we discussed last time, non-existence or abhava. So today we will just discuss the Vaisheshika theory of the world, and within it will be included its atomic theory also. Just a very brief discussion, because we have all read in science that atoms are the building blocks of matter. Of course, the concept of atoms has also evolved. So now we know that atoms are also made of parts like protons and electrons, etc. Many more discoveries have been made. So here also we will use the term atoms, mind you, in Vaisheshika theory also. But we should remember that this atom is not the same as the atom which we discuss in modern physics. Because in modern physics, even an atom is made up of parts like protons, electrons, and maybe other things also. But in Vaisheshika, the word atom is used in a different sense, because according to them, an atom is that which is not divisible at all. It is indivisible. So by atoms are meant the ultimate building blocks of matter in Vaisheshika. This we should remember, although we will use the term atom, but we should remember that this atom is not the same as that which we discuss in modern physics. So the Vaisheshika theory of the world also includes its atomic theory, and it holds that the smallest indivisible, indestructible part of the world is an atom. This is the definition of atom according to Vaisheshika. It is the smallest, and it is indivisible and indestructible. This is the speciality. And the atom is called Anu in Vaisheshika. Anu also means small. So the Sanskrit word for atoms is Paramanu. So this word is made up of two words, Parama and Anu. Parama plus Anu becomes Paramanu. So Anu means small, and when you add Parama to it, the meaning becomes the smallest. So Paramanu etymologically means the smallest. So Vaisheshika also says that the smallest indivisible and indestructible part of the world is an atom. This is the definition which we should remember. The Vaisheshika Sutra, as we have discussed before, all these philosophical systems were written down in sutra literature or aphorisms. So there is a sutra on the atoms also. So the Vaisheshika Sutra about atoms states that atom is that which is existent and has no cause and is eternal. So the three words are Sat, Akaranavat and Nityam. Sat means it exists. Akaranavat means it has no karana or cause, and it is Nityam. Nitya means it is eternal. And naturally, being so small, the atoms can't be perceived, but they are inferred from their effects. So atoms are the primordial infinitesimal particles of matter. All physical things, according to Vaisheshika, are a combination of the atoms of earth, water, fire, and air. This is another difference. According to Vaisheshika, atoms are of four types: atoms of earth, water, fire, and air, which are the elements. So the atoms of earth are different from that of water, which is different from that of fire, which is different from that of air. So all these are different in their structure according to Vaisheshika. But it is very difficult to imagine also that which is partless, how can it be different from one another? It's a very difficult thing to even imagine, because all differences are due to the constituents of something. If there is no part in something, if it is partless, how can we know that? In what way can the atom of fire be different from the atom of air, for example? So this is a problem for scientists like Adi Babu. We can tell the solution maybe. So Vaisheshika does not go into all that detail. As far as I know, it does not say how they differ. It is not possible to say also maybe. So each atom, like earth, water, fire, and air, they differ from each other. So they possess their own distinct individuality, which is called Vishesha. So Kannada uses the term Vishesha to mean particularity of an atom. This is the ultimate individuality, because there is nothing smaller than the atom. So this is a unique feature of this school, and hence the term Vaisheshika. Okay. So the cosmological cycle of creation and dissolution, according to Vaisheshika, is at an atomic level. And the breakdown of all natural properties of atoms occurs at the time of dissolution. So when there is time for creation, the atoms combine together, and when at the time of dissolution, the atoms disintegrate. Okay. Now, the atoms in by themselves are inactive and motionless, but they are put into motion by God's will through the unseen forces of merit and demerit. We will discuss that in detail. So God puts them in motion. How? Not according to his own fancy, but according to our merits and demerits. You see, everything is atoms. Everything is made up of atoms, according to Vaisheshika. My body is also made up of atoms. Your bodies are also made up of atoms. Now, suppose a person finds that he has some diseases. So, these diseases have to be due to the atoms of which his body is made. Okay, because everything is made up of atoms. So, what is the cause that the atoms of the bodies of that person are prone to diseases while the atoms of the body of another person are free from diseases? What is the cause? The cause is the karma. Vaisheshika also agrees with the other systems of Indian philosophy and says that the atoms which that person has got, due to which he is suffering from diseases, the atoms from which his body has been made, is also due to his own karma, which God has given him. So God willed that those particular atoms should form the body of that person because he deserved those atoms only. So this is how the law of karma takes effect. Anyway, we will discuss that also later. So as we have seen, we cannot perceive an atom, but the existence of atoms is known by an inference. Anumana. What is the inference like? The inference is very simple. See, the ordinary composite objects of the world, all the objects of the world, jars, table, chairs, computers, etc., everything are made up of parts that we all know. Because whatever is produced must be made up of parts. Because to produce a certain thing is to combine certain parts in a certain way. This is what is called production. Combining certain parts in a certain way. All the factories, etc., manufacturing units, what they do this. They combine some parts in a certain way to manufacture the product we need. But how can you combine parts to form something which is partless? You cannot do that. Therefore, whatever is produced must be made of parts. Now, if we go on separating the parts of a composite thing, naturally we shall pass from larger to smaller, from smaller to still smaller, and from finally to the smallest parts which cannot be further divided in any way. So these indivisible and minutest parts are called Paramanus or atoms. This is the thing, this is the concept. So an atom naturally cannot be produced because it has no parts. And to produce means to combine parts. An atom cannot be produced and it can also never be destroyed, because to destroy a thing is to break it up into parts. Whereas the atom has no parts at all. This is another beautiful concept in Indian philosophy. What generally when we say that this thing is destroyed, generally what do we feel? That destruction means it has vanished from the face of the earth. It no longer exists. But that cannot happen. So destruction, according to our philosophy, destruction is nothing but going back to its constituents. Our body will be destroyed one day. Either it will be burnt or it will be buried or something. Or some animals may eat it. God knows what will happen. So this destruction, what it is, the body does not disappear from the earth. No, the body just goes into its constituent parts. As we say at the time of the Christian burial, matter reverts back to matter. That's all. Earth to earth. This is the thing. So, thus, being neither produced nor destructible, the atoms are the smallest building blocks of the universe and are eternal. And as we have seen, the atoms are different in earth, fire, water, etc. Four kinds: earth, water, light, and air. Light also called fire, each having its peculiar quality. This we should remember, that this is what the Vaisheshikas mean by atom. So when we discuss atom in the context of Vaisheshika philosophy, we should not think that there is a nucleus and protons and electrons and all. No, no, nothing. Maybe in modern physics, the concept of atoms in Vaisheshika, in modern physics, it is similar to that of quarks, because quarks are supposed to be the ultimate building blocks of matter, as far as I know. Of course, I don't know much. So Anadi Babu later can confirm whether maybe quarks or something which resembles most closely the Vaisheshika concept of an atom. So the Vaisheshika theory of the world is also guided by a spiritual outlook. This we have seen just a few minutes ago, that the atoms are motionless, but God gives them motion. And that is not according to his own sweet will, it is according to our own karma, the karma of each individual. So this is a spiritual outlook. So in its attempt to explain the origin and destruction of the world, Vaisheshika does reduce all composite objects to the four kinds of atoms that we have discussed. So it is sometimes characterized as the atomic theory of the world. But we should remember that it does not ignore the moral and spiritual principles governing the processes of composition and decomposition of atoms. According to it, the way the atoms combine and again dissolve, those are also according to laws. Which law? The law of karma. So the atomic theory of the Vaisheshikas has a background slightly different from that of the atomism of Western science and philosophy, because the latter is in principle a materialistic philosophy of the world. It explains the order and history of the world as the mechanical resultant of the fortuitous motions of innumerable atoms in infinite space and time. So there is no mind or intelligence which governs the operations of these material atoms. Modern physics does not say that there is someone who's governing this. So atomism of the Vaisheshika, however, is a part of their spiritual philosophy, because according to it, the ultimate source of the actions of atoms is to be found in the creative or destructive will of God, who directs the operations of atoms according to the karma of individual souls. This is the thing. So there is a law behind all this. Okay. Now in modern physics also, there one part says there is a law, while the other part says that everything is by chance. So you all know about this. It is the two greatest discoveries of science. the general theory of relativity of Einstein, and quantum mechanics. So now the problem is the quantum mechanics and Einstein's theory of general relativity share one serious problem, most serious problem. What? They don't agree. They don't agree with each other. That is the problem. As you know, Einstein's relativity theory, in spite of its generally be associated with nuclear energy and all, it is mainly used to explain how the universe works at a large scale, like planets, galaxies, etc. But quantum mechanics deals with things of a very small scale, like atomic nuclei or even smaller. So, in this general relativity is somehow similar to the Vaisheshika philosophy because there events are continuous and deterministic, meaning that every cause matches up to a specific effect. There is cause and effect. But according to quantum mechanics, events are produced by the interaction of subatomic particles, which the motion of which is probabilistic rather than definite according to law. So this is a big problem because see, on the microcosm level, quantum mechanics works, and on the uh, larger level, theory of relativity comes into play. That's why you all know the Einstein's famous statement. He did not agree with quantum mechanics, and so he said that God doesn't play dice with the universe. Hmm. So afterwards, Einstein himself said that by God he did not mean a personal God because he did not believe in a personal God. According to him, God here means some universal law. Everything cannot be by chance. That is what Einstein meant to say. There must be some law. Hmm. So this is the thing. Now, till this, till this is resolved, till somehow quantum mechanics is brought into agreement with the general theory of relativity, this will be a mystery because we don't know what modern physics actually supports. It proofs are there for both. Both are proved. Einstein's theory as well as quantum mechanics. So all we can say is that the Vaisheshika theory is more similar to the general theory of relativity in the sense that it says nothing occurs by chance. There is a moral and spiritual law which governs the universe. This is the thing. So, according to Vaisheshika, the universe is a system of physical things and living beings having bodies, etc. Bodies, minds, we all know, we all have them. So, all these exist and interact with one another in time, space, and akasha. Okay, you all are familiar with these terms. So, living beings, what we call jivas, living beings are souls who enjoy or suffer in this world according to their own karma. So, the order of the world is on the whole a moral order in which the life and destiny of all individual souls are governed not only by the physical laws of time and space, but mostly by the universal moral law of karma. This is the Vaisheshika standpoint. Hmm. There can be no effect without a cause. It is as simple as that. So, keeping in view this moral order of the universe, the Vaisheshikas explain the process of creation and destruction. They say that the starting point of the process of creation is the will of God, who is the ruler of the whole universe. So the Lord conceives the will to create a universe in which individual beings may get their proper share of the experience of pain and pleasure according to their own karma. Hmm. So, according to that, everything is created. And we have already seen when we discussed the Vedas that according to the Vedanta, the process of creation and destruction of the world is beginningless and endless. There was never a first creation and there will never be a final destruction. Every creation is preceded by a state of destruction, and every destruction is preceded by some order of creation. So it is in cycles, it is an endless cycle, and till we are bound, till we are ignorant, we will be a part of this creation and destruction. We can never be free from it till we attain knowledge. So, to create is to destroy an existing order of things and usher in a new order. So, God's creative will has a reference to our merit and demerit which we acquire in this life and also in previous lives. So, when God wills to create the universe, what happens? The atoms start combining according to the law of karma of each individual. That is the thing. So this is the special viewpoint of Vaisheshika philosophy. Of course, Indian philosophy, most of the branches, except the materialistic theory like Charvaka, everybody more or less agrees with it. So Vedanta also says that creation is beginningless and endless, and it is in cycles because nothing can go on forever. Creation is also an effect. So everything which is the result of an effect has to be destroyed someday. So creation cannot go on forever. Hmm. It is just like after the whole day we work, then we go to rest at night. Then again, next morning we start our work. So it is like this, that there is creation, there is a period of rest. Hmm. Then again there is creation. It is like that. So maybe God takes a nice rest after creation. Yeah, he too needs a rest maybe. So this is the theory of cycles or kalpa, or alternating periods of creation and destruction, which is accepted by most of the orthodox systems of Indian philosophy. This is the thing. So this is the belief that the world in which we live is not eternal, and that at some distant time there shall be its dissolution. Just like ordinary substances are destroyed, one day everything is destroyed, has to be destroyed one day. In the same way, the universe will also be destroyed one day and there will be creation again. This is the thing. So, this is what the Vaisheshikas say in short. This is what their atomic system is, and this is what their views on creation is like. Hmm. So, this much about creation, and about the soul, the idea is very, very similar, which we all know. So, according to Vaisheshika, the soul, our individual soul, there are two kinds of souls, Jivatma and Paramatma. According to Vaisheshika, also the same as Vedanta. So, the Vaisheshika says that the soul or Atma is an eternal and all-pervading substance, which is the substratum of the phenomena of consciousness. And according to Vaisheshika also, there are two kinds of souls. Individual soul, which all of us, we are all individual souls. And the Paramatma, Paramatma is Ishvara or God Himself. So Paramatma is only one, but individual souls are many. Individual souls are infinite. Animals, etc., all of us human beings all have different individual souls. But the Paramatma is only one. And He is the creator of the whole universe. So the Jivatmans are very many, and they are all possessing of these minds and bodies, etc., which we all know. So they also have the feeling that I am sorry, I am sad, I am happy, etc., because all of them are different in different bodies. Now, the difference with Vedanta is that Vedanta says that all these differences are due to ignorance. But Vaisheshika does not say that. Vaisheshika says that all these Jivatman are real and they are many. It is not that one is appearing to be many on account of ignorance. Not that. Vedanta says the one appears as many. Why? Because the defect is in our vision. But the Vaisheshika does not agree with that. Vaisheshika says that there are innumerable individual souls and there is only one Paramatman or God, and all these are real. This is the thing. So, this is in short the Vaisheshika theory of the world, that the creation of the world is because of the combination of eternal atoms in eternal time and eternal space. Here there is another difference with Vedanta, like eternal time, eternal space, two infinities. But Vedanta says that infinity can only be one. If you say infinite, then how can it be more than one? So these are the differences. There are many other, but I'm just pointing out the main differences. So the world, according to Vaisheshika, is created and destroyed by God. How? According to the law of karma of individual souls and for their good, so that the universe will help the souls to realize their own nature. This is the thing. So the atomic theory of Vaisheshika is actually can be said to be an improvement on the ordinary view of the world as constituted by the physical elements of earth, water, fire and air, etc. because it is an advance on the materialistic theory that all things, including life, mind, etc., are transformations and mechanical products of material atoms. So the Vaisheshika theory is an improvement upon this materialistic philosophy because Vaisheshika combines the atomic theory with the moral and spiritual outlook of life. It combines the atomic theory with the theistic faith in God as the creator and moral governor of the world. This is the speciality. So, beautifully, it has the atomic theory on one hand, but it says that just because the universe is created out of matter does not mean that everything is materialistic, that there is nothing beyond matter. Matters are the building blocks of the universe, that is true, but they combine with each other on based on the law of karma. That is, so this is a moral and spiritual outlook of Indian philosophy. So Vaisheshika combines this with its atomic theory, which we have discussed in short, and afterwards I'm sure many of you can maybe throw light on how modern physics, what modern physics has to say on that, etc. So this much for the Vaisheshika philosophy. And so now in Indian philosophy, we started with an introduction, then we discussed the Jaina philosophy. Of course, Charvak is also there, materialistic philosophy. We discussed that. Then we discussed the Jaina and the Bauddha philosophy. Then we started with the six orthodox systems. We started with the Nyaya, and now we have done Vaisheshika also in a very, very short way. So next will come the all-important Sankhya philosophy. All those who have read the Gita, we will know that so many times Gita mentions this Prakriti and Purusha and all that. So all these are parts of the Sankhya philosophy. So it is very necessary to have a little idea of the basics of the philosophy in order to understand the Gita. So that we will take up after some time. I will give you a long gap, don't worry. Yeah, because next week is just before Swami Vivekananda's birthday, so we can have some discussion on the divine life of Swamiji and how Sri Ramakrishna brought him to the world. It's a amazing story. So we can have a little discussion, and after that, maybe some weeks of Gita, and after that, we can go up to Sankhya. So you'll have a nice and proper rest. Yeah. So now we can just have a small song. Last time, I